Excellent. All right, cool. We didn't have to be quiet during the countdown. It's totally good. It's totally fine.
I could have counted down.
I think you could have done that. This is going right.
Good start.
This is
Good
going
start.
really, really good. We should probably introduce this, and I should probably let you talk for just a second. But tell us what this is.
You want to tell me? You're the mouthpiece of this.
God dang it!
You're so good.
Why do you call me names, dude? All right, look. Here's the deal. John and I,
You're the
we've known
butt
each
plug
other.
of this.
Yeah. Well, we've known each other for a long time, like few days, no, a bunch of years, right? And we started to get to know each other through jujitsu, photography, and we just became friends real fast. And we've had a blast ever since. We've done a lot of work together. We've done a few things together, and we just used to be that every Christmas we'd catch up with each other and we'd say, "Hey, let's start this project." And we gave it a break for a few years just because we're like, you know what? Let's just chill. Part of it was because I wanted to do some stuff, and John was like, I don't want to be on video. Then he goes away, and 2 years later, he starts rating people's forgotten treasures in their storage units, and then he starts putting himself on YouTube. We found ourselves
Still,
talking.
still don't like it.
Well, who
But
does? Who does?
yeah,
No, the very beginning of this thing, this is real clunky and weird, but we keep having these conversations, and last conversation we had was just a few days ago, and we're like, you know what? We probably should have been recording this, and it turned into what you're looking at right now. So basically what this is it's part the title seems necessary, right? It's relevant because there's things we want to pass on to our younger family members. There's things maybe that would benefit you that we think seem necessary. And it could cover anything from relationships to friendships to financial issues. It's all the things that, people get really wound up about, right? Maybe a little bit of politics, maybe not, who knows, but just some stuff like, should you join the military? Maybe we'll talk about that. We share a heritage in the Marine Corps, and it might be fun to chat about that just a tad. So that's who we are right now. My name is Mike Peschel. All my friends call me Pesh. Started back in middle school sports, I think. I am not a lord. John is. Tell that
I am
story.
a lord. So my daughter a couple years ago gifted me with, I believe it's 2 square feet of land in Scotland, which thereby qualifies me to be Lord Cooper.
Freaking
So
love it.
I accept all of the, or I expect all of the due and provenance that title bequeaths me.
I don't know what that bequeaths you, but I'll give it to you. I'm going to give you a whole lot of crap. That's what I'll do. So
For sure. Yeah,
this,
you'll give me a lot of crap until I'm standing on my 2 square feet of land in Scotland.
you're the only one that can.
That doesn't matter.
Not on your land. I'm
Easily,
probably on some
I can
other
easily
Scottish lord's
defend
land.
it.
Good point. Good point. Just keep your pants zipped up. I think yeah, whatever. You can defend it that way. Anyhow, so these are going to be just conversations that, we're just going to go on until we get bored. And our last conversation, I don't know if we want to pick it up from there or not, or if there's something that's just been bugging us, but this is kind of part, old dude sitting on a porch complaining about the HOA, the weather, the whatever else, but also part, conversation, or just hopefully we've got some freaking wisdom. I mean, we've been through a bunch, both of us, and maybe there's some stuff that you can get out of it. So don't really have a topic for today. So let's talk a little bit about what we were talking about last time. We were like, a lot of conversations happen, right? You reach out to someone, don't really know why, other than like, man, this person probably would talk to me about this. And why don't you talk about why you reached out to me, and then we'll pick it up from there and just keep that conversation going.
I mean, I think it was basically, if we boil it down to just a single reason, it was I hadn't talked to you in a long time. And it was like you had mentioned, it was typically we wouldn't talk for a while. And then sometime in the summer, hey, we haven't talked in a while. What about that podcast? Are we going to do, and we get a little excited about it for a little while. And then it just, and I'll say it was probably on me a little more than you because I was hesitant to kind of jump into this because I'm not super comfortable being recorded. And so I'm getting used to that. But I've been watching a lot of people doing this, and it's just, it's like, not that I'm saying I'm better than, and I can do it better than anybody. I'm just saying, if I'm sitting here on my couch and I'm listening to these people say these things, maybe I have something that somebody wants to do. And then that goes back to our earlier conversations. It's like, well, who would I want to do this with? And the obvious answer would be Pesh. So that was the crux of it. I mean, well, I did miss you, but
I missed you too, man.
so that started it. And then we just got, started talking about kind of retirement and being kind of near the end of our careers. and what that's going to what it looks like now, what it's going to look like in a few years, what it's going to look like after retirement, maybe, and then that's when it's, why aren't we recording this? Like, for nothing else than just to have a record of our conversations, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And it's been interesting because I've been feeling a bit anxious, not as anxious as I have in the past, but just about what the hell am I going to do when I'm not doing anything anymore? And it's not so much like I can find stuff to do. Like I
Hmm.
could do this. I could like dive into like, hey, look, I'm going to make a video a day about, I don't know, woodworking or the yard that I'm tearing up and rebuilding or the whatever, right? It just anything because I believe there's something that could, be shared out of that. But it's more about, what's the cash flow look like? And I just find that I've been watching a lot of the same stuff that you've been watching, which
Right.
is typically, and I wish I knew the guy, and I'm real sorry if he's not watching, but I don't know
Hold
what
on
it
one
is.
sec.
You can look it up.
Yeah,
A
I
British
bet if I
dude,
went on
a
YouTube,
British
he's
dude
going to
just
be
doing
one of
this.
my suggested.
Yeah, a British dude just doing this, walking through, just going for a walk on the countryside. And he's just talking about what's going on. And he said some things that, really kind of hit home a little bit here. And it's just about, like we're not necessarily the forgotten generation, those of us that were born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and 90s, got to see grunge start and all this other stuff. And we were just raised with this, like this whole stuff about your parents would kick you out of the house and say, come home when the street lights are on. Right. That was the one big rule. Like, don't get hurt, don't die. But like our
But
generation
your
had,
parents said that?
well, yeah, every once in a while, but like our parents had an ad break at 10 p.m. that would say, do you know where your kids are?
Level Level 50 Lifestyle is the guy's
Level 50. He's ranked up to
podcast.
level 50. Yep.
Is that the guy right there?
That's the guy. Yeah. That
Yeah.
is the guy. That
How
guy right
funny that
there.
we both encountered him independently of one another.
Well, I mean, targeted advertising. I can hear him, by the way. Are you playing him? We're gonna get a copyright strike on the very first video within 5 minutes,
And start.
Correct. And anyway, it's like we grew up where it was rub some dirt on it, if you're not bleeding, it's not a foul, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, like all these things that were just like we were built to be resilient. And we were we felt like we could do anything. Like growing up, it's like, look, we can do anything. Shoot, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was age 8. I missed it by like a lot. But, I reverse timeline that crap when I was an 8-year-old and was thinking about this a long time. And I got as far as in the Marine Corps, but I didn't fly anything. So, I wasn't nerdy enough to be a real astronaut. I wanted to be a pilot. Anyhow, we were raised in that world where it was like, just freaking grit, do it and get it done. You're going to hit road bumps and you're going to have this, that, and the other. And, we look back right now and I've been working since I was 16. I'm over 50 now. And yeah, it's just like, dude, all of this that I feel like I've been working for, I don't feel like I can stop.
Yeah.
So that
And
that
I
that
mean,
has been weighing
that's
on
a
me.
huge, yeah, I was going to say that's got to be a huge weight, I would say, to carry, because obviously we don't want to work forever. I mean, I don't. I mean, maybe there's people out there that I'm sure and I'll say I like my job, but I like not doing my job too. So,
Yeah, weekends are great.
it's, and not, I think I'm a little more, I don't know if I've been planning. I'm not saying you haven't been planning, but like I mentioned on the phone the other day, for the past 3 years, this is all I've been like deep learning about Social Security, when to take it, when not to take it, delay, don't delay, married, you take it, I'll take it later. Learning about RMDs, the or is it minimum distribution? RMDs. Oh, required minimum distribution from
Okay.
your accounts.
Like
And if
401ks and stuff.
so if it's a 401k when you're 72 or 75, you have to take money out. That's just, it's a requirement. So that means that could bump you into a new tax bracket that you
Yeah.
didn't expect. So all of these little things that you have to, that I never even like, listen, I didn't have financial guides when I was a kid. I was horrible with money growing up. I was horrible with money in my 20s, and it wasn't even really into my 30s when I really started. I wouldn't say getting serious, but getting more serious about it. And
Well, at least
now
you
I
were
feel
paying
like
attention.
yeah. And now I feel like I'm trying to make up ground for all those decades, which, like we talked about again, it's, you want to be in the market as long as possible. And there's nothing I can do about that now. So now my plan is, okay, that's off the table. How do here's my situation now. What do I do? So it's just been a deep dive in all things kind of retirement planning. I shouldn't say retirement. It's like pre-planning for the retirement.
That's such a John
And
thing, though. I'm gonna, I'm
well,
gonna, I'm gonna plan.
yep. Well, that's a Marine Corps thing. Fall out to get the plan, get the word to get to fall into formation to get the word to fall out,
Yep, that is
and
a
then go
fact.
back to and wait for the formation.
Well, yeah, hurry up and wait. That was actually great, though. By the way, you know what I mean. Not that we enjoyed it at the time, but like
Oh yeah. Well,
maybe we'll talk about that later.
because
Just like
because it had nothing to do with anything other than we don't know what to do with them. We can't let them go. So let's make them come line up. Okay, now go
stay
back.
here,
Line up.
stay here.
So
Yep, stand here. Yeah, man. So I'm still trying to figure out what to do with retirement. I mean, I've seen, these guys, level 50 and even a few others that are just like, I took the leap. Like I saw someone's YouTube channel recently. I didn't watch the video yet, but they were like, I sold everything and I'm going to live in a van. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like an awesome retirement to me. Like, I mean, it could be, but like,
mhm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean,
Your
we
wife
lived in the
better be
North.
on board.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it said he. I don't think he said I. I don't think it said we.
Yeah.
So maybe there was nobody on board, but just thinking about what that's like, and my dad right now, they had property in Texas. They sold all the property and the house and everything, and he was able to buy, everything he needed to retire and just like go on about basically be debt free and own the stuff that he was going to travel around the country with. And, but like there's certain things that I've seen on that too. And now it's a beautiful Ram, 3500, and it's a huge dually and it's awesome. So awesome. But you need tires on a truck, you need oil changes in a truck. And when
Big
it's
brakes on
diesel,
that truck.
yeah, you need brakes. Well, brakes on a truck, or you need tires on the trailer, or the fifth wheel too. I mean, there's
Mhm.
six, eight wheels, whatever. Anyway, it's just those things that you just aren't thinking of. And it's, when you're living on, in their case, like living on Social Security and, kind of working for the RV spots where they go, it gets tight. It gets tight real
Yeah.
quick, and I look back and I'm like, all right, well, I've got some other friends that are like, not only out of town this week, but I think we're like in the Bahamas. And I'm like, dang it, dude, they're without their kids, they're this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like when Heather and when I'm done earning a living, earning the steady paycheck. Like, what's that going to look like? Are we going to be homebound a good bit more? Probably.
Well, no, because we have the revenue from this YouTube channel.
I'm trying to be humble. All right. I'm not trying to flex on anybody. Yeah. God, that would be something.
We'll split a coffee.
I'll have to buy the coffee first.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. So what are y'all thinking? What is y'all's plan right now?
So I do not want to work until I'm 65 so I'm trying to early 60s, something like that. And it's really just at this point, to back up a little bit, on the phone, we had talked about, I had read a book and the author is escaping me, but the title of the book is Die with Zero. And the idea behind it is you plan your life so that you don't save so much that you don't live your life while you're living your life, and you don't save and just focus on saving that, I think and I could be getting the age wrong, but I think he said the average retiree dies at 67, which is 2 years after typical retirement. And the point was, don't save your whole life for that 65 age and then die 2 years later, because you don't get to enjoy it. The other part of it is, you start having health problems, and I'm not even talking about like serious, like your knees go out or your back hurts. You can't go on those hikes that you said you were going to go, take hike in the Alps, and now you can't. So
Someone check that one. Just see what a hike in the Alps would look like.
yeah. So it's, doing it. And I've heard this on a bunch of podcasts, it's your go-go years, your slow-go years, and your no-go years.
Huh.
And, right now, or coming into the late 50s, early 60s, your go-go years, like you have your health, maybe you don't have the time because you're still working, but like when you're in retirement, this is when you ideally should be doing all those trips and things like that. Then you have your slow go, which I think the slow go starts at 70 or later 60s, maybe in the 70s. And you're not taking the big trips anymore. You're still doing things, but everything just slows down. And then when you get after that, the no-go is you're old and you can't, not financially, just physically. I believe you're not able to. So the idea is plan your life so that you take care of all the things along the way. And then when they put you in the, whatever happens, you have no money left in your checking account and you lived a full life up until that point.
Yeah. So
So
how do
that,
you?
that's the gist of it.
Yeah, I got you. I have a difficult time with this. I told you on the last time we chatted, so I'm going to tell you again. Another Marine Corps thing. I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Then I'm going to tell you what I told you. It was somebody, and this is why we need to start including, the next week we need to actually start including Instagram things. We'll start throwing a clip in here and responding to it. Is this? It's like, dude, why did all of my family tree? Why did every bit of my family tree leave it up to me to create lasting wealth? Why did they give me the task of freaking generational wealth? I'm like, my grandpa could have
Yep.
done it. My dad could have done it. Like my mom could have done it, maybe, anybody in my entire family tree could have done it. But no, they leave it up to me. Some dumb freaking Marine, that
Yeah,
just
leave it
isn't
up to your kids.
that's in sales. Well, yeah, but that's the part where I struggle. This is the part where I feel like legacy. I think legacy is important to me, and I don't know where it comes from. But like, I'm not the kid that was the first to go to college, right? I'm not the kid that was the first to do this. I wasn't the kid the first to go to the military. I wasn't the kid the first to do into sales. Like everybody's like already done that, before me, but what I hope to be is the kid that at least changes our mentality about money. I grew up until I was 15 with my mom, and it was tough. We moved in with my grandmother, living in a single wide trailer in South Carolina. And just, we didn't know we were poor white trash, but we were. Looking back, I'm like, we visited where the spot was, and it's emotional for me because I've come pretty daggone far. Hell, my mom has too. But growing up in that environment was like, I think Theo Vaughn said, he's like, what's this white privilege everybody talks about? Is that like what, getting a sweater for Christmas? Like, I know that,
Right.
I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So until I was 15, that's all I knew. Mom, we were making less than the poverty level. And my grandmother, I really wish I could go back in time and find out what she did. She worked for Goodyear or Michelin.
Okay.
Goodyear? Michelin forever. And I thought she was retired and living on a pension there. I don't know. Maybe she was on Social Security. Who knows? All I know is I would smell the coffee in the morning when I'd get up. I'd smell her cigarette in the morning because she smoked. And I just remember vividly like all these American flag things like pens and notepads and other stuff like this because it was kind of around one of our other,
The swag
yeah, the swag
from
from
work. Yeah.
America because it was,
Yeah.
75 or 70, 76, right? Sort of after
Mhm.
that or whatever. Anyway, point is
Bicentennial.
those things make sense, but yeah, the bicentennial, right? And those made sense. Then I went to live with my dad. My dad was making more money than my mom by far. And we did a lot of great fun stuff. We went to, Wisconsin Dells. We went on vacations. We did stuff. We had things all over the place. Like we ate out, like he'd fly lobster in from Maine and crab legs from somewhere else. And we get filet mignon. I mean, we were doing good stuff. Like I'm glad that we had the resources that we had, but like looking back on all of it, there was a common theme. Like my mom didn't have enough money to know how to manage it. My dad didn't know how to manage money, but had it. And I
Wait,
didn't
isn't that
learn.
like Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Did you read that? That
It was like,
sounds like the similar his two dads where,
I
you
did, but it
know,
was like both my parents were financially illiterate, I think,
oh right, because
Or
one of his dads was the smart dad with the money, right?
right, right. The
I
other
think
dad was not.
obviously. Yeah.
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 And
But still
no,
made I think the other dad made money, just didn't manage the money properly. Yeah.
I'm
It's been
I'll
a
have to
long time since I read that.
same here. Same here. Point is there were no lessons. And I don't know if like as I say it out loud right now, it's like look in the late 80s, early 90s, it's like people were still you could still go to work for 30 years with IBM. You know what I mean? And have a
Mhm.
pension. But by the time I hit the workforce, there were no pensions. It was replaced with
Yeah.
401ks and there was no like, the only way to get paid increases was to leave where you were to go somewhere else. The market rate was doing it. You weren't going to get raises to stay loyal to, IBM or whoever the heck you were working at. But what I
Mhm.
took out of that years later was that neither one of them taught me anything about being a good steward of my own income. And it wasn't, until truly, I remember, do you remember Dewey Doan? Does that guy ring a bell to you? Dewey, you never met Dewey? Anyway, he was a jujitsu guy. He moved back to Hawaii. He started Kikoa over there. Anyway,
I know the company.
yeah.
I don't know who started it.
Yeah, no, he told me, he's like, look, you need to, why am I drawing a blank on the guy who freaking changed my financial life? Dave Ramsey. He's like, you need to read Dave Ramsey. And he gave me like the
Mm.
total money makeover. And just out of the blue, we were training one day and he's just like, hey, you may want to, this changed our life. Maybe it'll, maybe it's whatever. I didn't read it right away, but we did. And it was just like, okay, yeah, I'm tired of having debt. I'm tired of having this and that. And I look back at it and I'm like, I've blown so much money. Why? How?
Did you do the
Yeah,
envelopes?
we did the envelope system.
Okay.
We did. And it worked really, really well. It's getting harder right now. I mean, I'm telling you, there were 3 places we went to over Father's Day weekend here that were just like, we're cashless. I'm like, how do you work in that environment and try to,
Yeah.
build in a discipline? But, basically I hope that the legacy that I can pass on isn't, my dad didn't teach me anything about finances, but they'll find something else that I didn't do and hopefully they'll improve that moving forward. But
Yeah.
hopefully they'll have, I know they have a better jump start than I do, but yeah, there's challenges with that too. Kids are impetuous. Kids want, to spend any money
Yep.
that they have, right? That kind of thing. But I think we've done pretty well. So yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
I could
For
talk
me,
for
it
more on that
was,
crap.
yeah. If I mean, if it was similar, like I had no financial guidance at all from anybody. I think when I was a kid, my grandmother, because I want to say it was kindergarten-ish, my mom took me to live with my grandmother and basically just said, "Here you go."
I
He,
can't
you
handle
know,
him.
he
He's a ruffian.
Yeah, and I honestly, I think that was the best thing for me because my grandmother was stable, whereas my mom probably at the time was not. And I know she was setting aside what little income because she was on my grandfather's pension from the army, retirement pension, and he had passed away when I was 5. So she raised me on that pension, and I know I had a cat. She had set up accounts for me at the bank, and I never saw those accounts, and we can talk about that later. But then I moved back in with my mom. She was not good with money. Even so, she got me a job at a toy store. Actually, my she got me a job at a auto mechanic, and I
Okay.
was kind of cleaning up around, and then they'd let me do like small mechanic jobs. I didn't really learn a lot of auto repair. I think it was just more of a favor to my mom, but then I would have to give my checks over to her, and I never saw the money. Like I don't know what happened to that money. And then go to the toy store, same thing. So the whole time I was living with them, I had to give them my paychecks, or had give my not my stepdad, but my mom. I don't even know if my stepdad knew that. So it felt like I was her source of fun money. And then jump forward, join the Marine Corps, because I'm kind of stuck at a dead end job as a waiter in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and making good money for not having any responsibilities or anything like that. Good money, I thought, but just realized, my friends were coming back, and a couple of them had joined the Marines, and they're telling me all their stories of everything, and we don't have to pay for anything, and food's free, and we make this money. It's like, that sounds great. So I join, and first, I met them all. I just got out of boot camp, or not just out of boot camp, but I just got to my unit, and we're at the mall, and it's like, hey, do you want a credit card? I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't have any credit. And they're like, it doesn't matter. I think I signed up for 10 credit cards within 2 weeks, something like that. But Gum Rewards, Sears,
Yeah.
jeweler to get a watch, and then maxed everything out, which led to a bankruptcy at 24, 23. So then having to deal with that over the next 10 years was a nightmare. But I think that was my rock bottom because I got a secured credit card after that. And today, I'm probably hyper vigilant about debt. I hate it. I pay it off. My kids hate it. My wife probably hates it. But it's like I just have this adverse reaction to, when we overspend or something like that, even though we could probably afford a lot of this stuff. And then I read the book, that Die with Zero book. Like, again, I'm jumping way ahead at this point. But so I read this book, and I don't think I could incorporate all of his teachings, because to jump back to your point, like we did Dave Ramsey for a while and we did the envelopes, but I think for it, and this is for me, I'm sure a lot of people really need that type of not discipline, or they need to create
No,
that
it is
discipline,
discipline.
a-
Yeah,
and
it
they
is.
need that structure. It was too structured for me. So I modified it to what would work for me. And then I eventually just eliminated it. And I'm not perfect. I don't always spend money on the smartest things, but I certainly don't lose sleep at night anymore because, the debt's through the roof, and, wonder, a new bill comes in and you're like, oh crap, how am I going to pay for that?
Yeah.
But so I read this book, I look back, I think still too rigid for me. And plus, the guy's wealthy. So
Right.
it's,
It's easy
I
for him
feel
to
it's
say.
kind of easy for somebody to say, and that's nothing against him. But it's when you have money, and I'm not saying, money solves all your problems, but listening to his story, he was obviously smart and just chose to do things with his money. But here I am sitting at 54 because I read the book. 53, I think, is when I read that Die with Zero book. Just like a lot of those things just aren't applicable to me now. I'm either past it, or maybe wish I would have read it 20 years ago or 30 years
Mhm.
ago. But there's still some lessons like don't penny pinch some, or at least for me, it's like don't be such a penny pincher that you're not enjoying life along the way. So that's something I'm, slowly, it's not easy, because I've had 15 years of being, Ebenezer Scrooge. But then that leads into retirement. And I'm not where I would like to be, but I'm way far ahead of where I think a lot of people are. Cause I see these, oh,
That's
most people
scary though,
they
dude.
only have $30,000 in their 401k. And that gives me anxiety thinking about people. It's like, oh, I feel so bad that, but I know where they're coming from. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Mm.
So we'll
Before you
see.
go on,
It's yeah, uh-huh.
no, before you go on real quick, man, there was one thing, and I don't know if you guys have consciously done this or even do it at all just yet, but we were a while back, and I'm not going to go off too long on this, but when we first moved to Texas, like we had gotten debt free in California and then moved to Texas. That was sort of the prerequisite. And one thing we wanted to do was to help the kids understand how to manage money a little bit. And I did, I think, a pretty cool thing with an allowance. I can talk about that later. But
Mhm.
what I really switched on my head was like, look, man, we're done. I want us to be done buying things, and I want us to invest in experiences. And every now and again, I'll still ask the kids like, "Hey, look, what did you get last Christmas?" And they can maybe name one thing. Then I'm like, "What was your favorite trip this year, or what was your favorite? Explain to
Yeah.
me what you remember about Branson, Missouri, or what about our trip when we went to California for that? Like what." Those things stick with us. And I'm with you, man. I don't like to overspend on a bunch of other stuff, but I like stuff too. I mean, look, dude, that's a
Mhm.
3D printer. That's not a
Yeah.
cheap one either, and I've gone through
Mine's
two
right
other ones
there.
before. And I've gone through two other ones before to learn, I should have gotten the good one. At any rate, but we've prioritized experiences over things. And the kids now for holidays and for, their birthdays, it's experiential stuff that we do now. And I feel better about it. I mean, yeah, I still want
Mhm.
my kids to have the stuff, right? Because I'm a parent, but there's that. The other thing, and this was harder for us to learn, and because we were transparent with our kids, was this: we can afford anything we want. Not that we're rich, but it's like, if you think about it, if you want it, you can find a way to afford it, right? But we had to change the wording on this and just tell the kids like, look, this is just what we've decided we're not going to spend that money on. We're deciding we're going to spend this money here. So when we were in our penny pinching phase, we were just like teaching our kids like, look, we're being intentional about this. We're gonna do this instead of do that, because this is where we're deciding to spend our money. That's not where we're deciding to spend our money, because we didn't want our kids to fear like, are we okay? We wanted our kids to feel safe. And
Right.
I don't know if you'd asked me when I was, 9 or 10 or 11 if I felt safe living in a trailer park in South Carolina, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I did. I don't know. So anyway, sorry about that. So I derailed you just a little bit, but you were, penny pinching through to the like, all right, we're not going to penny pinch. And I forgot where I cut you off, man.
Did I lose you?
For a second, I think we lost each other, but this product
Huh.
we're going to be okay.
All right.
I'll just mark that here. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna mark
Yep.
that. Not layout, not React. Mark. There we go. All right, we're back.
Excellent.
So I forgot where I cut you off, but you were definitely talking about like you've gone through the phase in your world where you were like, all right, I'm penny pinching, I'm Scrooge McDuck, to now it's like I don't have to be, we don't have to be this way, but
I mean, I
so
still am, but I have, eased up. Like, I still like when I'm booking, flight with, because so now to kind of touch base on the envelopes. We don't use the envelopes because, and this is not for everybody, but I've disciplined myself enough with a credit card. So now I have a points card, and everything goes on that card. And I just accumulate the points, and we use points, and that's what helps us travel. Not that we're traveling world trips. We're just, traveling throughout the US or something like that, go Tennessee, Idaho, things like that. And but that could lead to it being a slippery slope where I'll just take care of it next month, and then next month becomes 6 months. And but I've, for whatever reason, I think part of the bankruptcy and all of that stuff in between there and now, I can do it, and it works. So that's my envelope, is the so to speak, is the credit card, because I put everything on it. And like I said, I'm not telling anybody to do it. It definitely requires strict discipline so you don't get in trouble.
It does.
Um,
I've got two Hilton Amex cards, and one of them I use for work, and the other one is
mhm.
not. And they keep wanting to up my video there. They keep wanting to up my balance, or my whatever, my allowable credit on the
Your
one that is
limit,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, my limit. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. And I keep declining it. They like, hey, we just upped it
Mhm,
to this. And I'm like, nope, turn it back. I have it set at 1,000. And not because I can't afford to do more or whatever else. It's just like I know that A, on the work one, I'm adamant to get it paid off, but I just do
mhm.
it through expenses the way we do it. The other one is like, we're disciplined about, like, we don't pay interest on food. We just don't. You know what I mean? We don't
Yep.
eat out on a credit card. We don't go to the grocery store on a credit card. The credit card will be there for, like, we do have certain things like you. It's like, look, hey, we always pay the mobile phone. May as well put it on the card and then pay the card. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's just for that, but it's set to a point where, even, like you said, it's like you can do what you want to do with your life, and with your own money. But like, it's not there. Like, dude, if I lost the card or someone swiped it and took it, it's like, dude, the worst they could do is $1,000. That's about as what it's for. If like one of my kids were to lose their dang mind and take it and go on a, spending spree again,
Mhm.
only $1,000. Or if I lose my
Yep.
mind, or I'm like, look, all I want to do is, I want to splurge or something like this. It's like, okay, cool. There, it's $1,000. We can pay that off next
Yep.
month. Worst case scenario, right? So it's hard to be disciplined though, man.
It took some low roads to to get for me to get to this point. And again, I'm not perfect. I still spend money on stupid things sometimes, but it's not like I don't have them. I still have money worries in it, but it's more about money worries of the future.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Am
It's
I
like,
going to have enough?
yeah,
What's my month going to look like when no money's coming in anymore?
yeah,
Uh,
it's cash flow. It's just all about
yeah.
cash flow, right? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I mentioned this before. I'm like, if we keep toying around with whether or not this is the house that we want to like live in forever, and the
Hmm.
point, I got repairs that need to be done. This house was built at a point in time where the code didn't require certain things, between the drywall and the freaking siding on the outside, namely a 3/4 inch, flashing. So basically, our house is not super efficient in Central Texas. That would be a problem, would it? Never gets hot or super cold here. Anyway, point is, if we're going to stay here, forever, then it's like, all right, well, then I'll put some money into the house. But if we're going to stay here forever, then it's like, do I redo the kitchen so that it's more open? Do we turn the downstairs space that we have into like an in-law suite, so that this is where we move downstairs and the rest of the family and kids live upstairs? Like, like, are we going to turn this into a multi-generational, home and a track home? Right.
Right. Right.
I mean, I think about those things I worry about. I do. I worry about, if I don't have the cash flow, how can we commune, co-op to do this, right? I don't think my kids are going to be able to run out and buy a house, shoot the houses next door, freaking expensive. You know better than I do. I
Yeah.
mean, you live in
Oh
Orange County,
yeah.
California. Like, dude, it's
I
redonkulous.
honestly do not see I like even, my son has a good job, my daughter's still in school, she's in college, but even when she gets out, I just don't see how they're going to afford a house. I mean, you could go inland or go more north or something, but if you want to stay in kind of your home area, man, it I don't know how that's going to happen,
Well, we saw
So,
that. We were living in South Orange County, Ladera Ranch, and I'm looking at Heather, and we're pregnant with, no, we just had Mikey, and I think
mhm,
we're pregnant with Joy. And we're like, dude, we've got to go. We look. I've either got to focus 100% on making $1 million a year, which means for the next handful of years, you're not going to really see me because I'm going to have to bust my tail to do this. And that was just sort of what I was trying to prepare her for. I'm like, or we move. She's like, move where? I'm
mhm,
like, we move east, and I was being coy. She's like, yeah, my sister lives in Riverside. I was like, no, I was thinking a little further east. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm thinking Texas. She's like, we've been to Texas a few times. I kind of liked it,
mhm.
and we did that. But you're right, man. But even here, I mean, for the kids, like, this is where they don't understand, they don't they don't get it yet because they don't have to pay a mortgage yet. But they're going
Yeah.
to be pissed when they see it's like, oh, wait, you bought the house when it was 480K and I'm looking at houses. I can't find a one bedroom efficient, a condo for 480,
Yep.
and your mortgage is going to be, your mortgage is what it was, back then. And it's going to be like 5K or what, it's going to be redonkulous for them too. I've said redonkulous twice now. I've hit my quota. That's 3. I'm done. But
Can you edit that out?
probably I'm going to change it to some other R word that's probably politically incorrect. But yeah, man, I worry about what they're going to do, and I probably shouldn't, but it made me question. I asked my dad recently. I was like, "Dad, were you worried?"
I was just going to ask you, do you think your parents were worried?
I
Like
asked
you,
my
I know
dad.
you and I worried.
Yeah, I asked my dad, and he said, "Well, kinda." And then he goes, "By the time I was your age now, like by the time he was 52, right?" He's like, he's looking at me, he still calls me Mike. He's like, "Mikey, you were in your 30s." He's only 21 years older than me, right? He's like, "You were in your 30s. You already had your shit straight. You had already gone in
Hmm.
the Marine Corps and out, and you were working in tech, and you were doing these things. You were already doing stuff. You were earning a living. You weren't the bump on the log. You didn't, you weren't thankfully like suffering from PTSD or disabled or anything like that from the Marine Corps, so not that I had much of a chance to deal with that stuff, but still he just was like, no, not really. And my same with my mom, she's like, no, you left and we're always kind of, your grandma said you had the go bug, you had to go, you had to go. And you just sort of figured things out too. And was just like, no, I'm going to get it. And I'm just like, not that the kids are less competent because they are super competent, right? Even though we homeschool. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I don't think they worried as much. Like
I
I
would
said
venture to
earlier.
say my parents did not think of it. Like they just, I think they just assumed like I figured it out, he'll
Yeah.
figure it out,
Well, yeah, well, that was the
you
thing
know?
because it seemed like there was little risk. And I mean, go back to like what I said earlier. It's like our parents it was on TV at 10 o'clock, it'd come on like, hey, do you know
Hmm.
where your kids are? It's like that was legit. It's like we didn't, I was raised by nature, I think, and raised
Yeah.
with my brother, and just yeah, it was kind of crazy. So I don't think they did. Why are we the generation that was raised that way? Why are we worried about our next generation?
That's a
Huh?
great question. That is a great question.
You
It's,
know,
I don't know. I have no idea. I
participation
wish
with them.
I mean, I'm happy that I'm more attuned to that kind of stuff with my kids, but at the same time, like I've lost sleep at nights worrying about, oh, is are they gonna find a job? Are they gonna what's gonna happen if this doesn't happen? And they're not I mean, I'm sure they're worried about it, but I feel like I overly worry about it, which, has led to some long sleepless nights, but
Yeah.
I just can't imagine my mom laying in bed at 2 at night going, well, what if he doesn't get that job? Or, whatever it is.
Well,
No way.
I wonder if it's because, back in you used to be able to work certain jobs and be able to provide for yourself and your family,
Mhm.
and with everything that's like going up, like what it used to be in our generation, what a home cost 2 times your wage on average. Right now it's like 7 or something silly like that.
Yeah, I
And
think it's actually I guess it depends on what time, but I thought it was like 3 or 4 times, and then now
yeah,
it's 13 times, something
I've
like
seen
that.
those too. Anyway,
It's
it's
ridiculous.
dramatically different. Our income hasn't kept up with inflation, that's for sure, especially when it comes to housing. Part of that is, when we grew up, if you would go to college and get a degree and it would actually be helpful, or
Mhm.
at the worst bit of it, it's like at least it was an indicator that you could get through something. You know what I mean? Is that you could take on a task or a
Right.
challenge for 4 years and accomplish that, right? So people would look for that sort of longevity marker, when you're getting screened for a job or whatever. Or maybe by the time we were done, it didn't matter. I didn't go
Mhm.
to college. I've had no problem staying employed. I mean, I'm employed today. I could be re-employed
Well,
tomorrow if I weren't. So
and I don't think today well, so even when looking back at my high school, there was so many and I would probably put myself in this category. Some people just weren't college material. And I don't mean that they weren't smart enough, they just weren't like, I had friends who
I would
were
have pissed it away.
we used to have welding we had welding shop in high school, and those guys who they loved welding. You're gonna send that guy to a 4-year to college so he can figure out that he wants to be a welder.
Or so you
Um,
can spend 6
and
months pissed off about an accounting class?
right, yeah, and, I think that there was that big push as we got older where everybody's gotta go to college, everybody's gotta do this, and now it's starting to kind of, come back to, maybe college isn't, this guy can go to a tech school, learn ho be an electrician, work as an apprentice for a couple years, and then own
Yeah,
his own electrical company,
dude,
and then not have $200,000 or what, I know that's probably a crazy number, but,
we're being attacked. Hang on one quick second.
surprise.
Hold on one second.
What would you have done if that was me at the door?
Dude, that would have been epic. It would have been huge hugs. This episode would have been done. We'd have gone and got some Rudy's barbecue at least. And then I'd be like, dude, all right,
What
tomorrow.
was the hat? Speaking of timeout, you'd sent me a hat from a barbecue place. I don't think it was Rudy's.
No, I think I sent you a Bucky's hat.
No,
No, I didn't send you Bucky's.
it's gone. It's so
You know what? It may have been Cooper. No, it
throwing
was
that
yours.
out in the
It was
ether.
Cooper's. No, it was Cooper's.
Oh,
It
that's
was
right.
Cooper's
Yeah,
barbecue.
you're right. That's right.
Yeah, it was
It's
Cooper's
gone.
barbecue. Okay, so yeah, I would definitely take you to Cooper's barbecue, not the one in
Okay.
downtown Austin, the one down in New Braunfels. Although the brisket out at the one in Llano is better. It's just actually it's about the same, but you get to experience Bucky's down in New Braunfels as well. But the thing about Cooper's barbecue, man, it's they do a smoked pork chop that is legit. It's legit. It's good. Anyway, that would have been
All
pretty
right.
fun. Yeah. No, we're on the tip and talk of, retirement and cash flow and stuff. Heather's been, I think this Christmas it'll be 2 years of running a rover business, and we're watching a couple dogs for some folks. And I'm glad we've found that. I hope that it continues to do what it does. She's been able to build a bit of a side business outside of it as well, because you can, like
Yep.
you can. Sorry, I want to get this out of the way. And it's proven to be, good. And all right, that's fine. It's proven to be really good. And mostly because I don't, I'll give her a hard time. She's like, hey, look, I need you to do this meet and greet, or I need you to help out on this day with this dog. And I'm like, cool, yeah, I'll do your job. If you can just go do this sales meeting real quick, or if you can build this proof of concept for this customer, or do whatever. Like, I give her a hard time, but
Easy
I
peasy.
well, no, I absolutely love it. I mean, we've seen so many of these dogs that we like. We were putting together our own top 5 just the other day, me and the kids and Heather, and just the dogs that we love. And it's not that we don't love the other dogs that aren't in the top 5. It's just like there are clear animals that bond with you. But we're looking at this and we're like, well, do we need
Careful.
to?
What if they watch this?
If they watch it, I'm not naming names. That's
Okay,
all.
fair enough. But they know who they are.
But I'll tell them to their face, Comet is my favorite dog, and all the rest of the dogs can just take a back seat to Comet. Even you, Godzilla. All right. I love Godzilla. He's an awesome dog, but Comet's the dog. Anywho, but it's been a good vision into
Now,
do we need to change the
it-
way we're living
it-
right now to make this a bigger sort of a business that we can
So
run
is that
as-
something you could potentially scale to more than a side business, or you say it's mostly Heather now, but something, so let's say you're approaching retirement, whenever that happens to be, is that something that you could easily transition to and then scale?
I mean, for
Or-
sure, we could scale it now. I've talked to my dad about hey, look, here's a way that it could grow. Would you be interested in helping? Let me help you help us with that part. Doing a more dedicated, not here at the house, doggy daycare at just some place that we could find.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could 100% scale it. It's just, we need to do it in an intelligent way, right?
Sure.
Do we buy land and property? And if so, location really matters, and do we turn this, right now, we're not doing so much that we're catching the attention of our neighbors or the neighborhood and, getting into any trouble, anything like that. But is there ever a point where we'll need to have, unrestricted land to do this, or if we need to have a commercial spot to do something a little bit different? I don't know, but can it scale? 100%. I mean, we're coming up on 4th of July. We've got one dog, and then we were just asked if we would cover another dog. And we're planning, we've got an experience planned, and we're like, well, we'll work with this one dog. We can work that out. But it's my point is, we're turning away business. I mean, she got 3 requests today. 2 of them were from someone that we didn't know and hadn't worked with. So that was an easy kind of, can't really. But then the other people were like, we want to help people that we've helped before too, So definitely maybe. you
So
know?
that's good. I mean, at least that's a source of, talking about our sources of income in retirement. That could be a potential source. And
Yeah.
it sounds like it could be a profitable source.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, or we could just start selling feet pictures right now and just stack that money aside.
We
I'm not saying whose feet.
we we joke
I wouldn't do that. No, it's crazy. Have y'all thought about leaving California, for a lower cost of living
every
place
day of
or
my life. Yeah. I joke because I would say I've been in California, so I joined the Marines in '93, and that's so I moved out here and I was there for 4 years and then just stayed. So I've been in California 33 years now,
yeah,
and I've probably been talking about moving out of California for 25 of those 33 years. So much so that years ago everybody would I get the eye rolls like, "Oh, here he goes again." And even to this day, it's like, how long do you keep saying I'm gonna move, I'm gonna do this? And so I mean we've looked initially it was Colorado. I wanted to because I born in New Mexico, grew up in Wyoming, came out here, and then I didn't want to go back to Wyoming, although now Wyoming's on our list again. It was Colorado, but then a lot of Californians started moving to like the Denver suburbs and
yep,
prices went through the roof. So then I start looking around, other places and we ended up like then I started looking at Idaho and I wish again all the things you could have done, and you should have done, but I wish we would have bought like land back then because the same thing happened. A lot of Californians
yeah,
have moved to, the Boise area and around there and prices are, I mean, it's almost a lateral move at this point. So we'd just be exchanging one expensive house for another expensive house. We were close to closing on property in Tennessee and I ended up backing out of the escrow. We lost our earnest money and it was a plot of land. It was a little over an acre on a pond, and it's probably one of the most beautiful places I've been in my life. But we went out there, and I don't know. There was something. There was just something about it, and maybe it was the reality of we're the only ones of our friends and family within hundreds of miles. Like
right.
I don't mind being a little far, like an hour plane ride, but this is like all day,
Yeah,
because it was just south of, or sorry, just west of Chattanooga. So you'd have to fly into Nashville, fly to Chattanooga.
yep.
It was an ordeal. So now we're back looking at Idaho. We're back looking in Montana. But again, all those states suffer from the same, mass migration of people from other parts of the country living there. And so we'll find something. It's just, we're trying to wait for my daughter to finish school. She'll be I think she'll graduate next year. She's gonna do her master's program, and we'll try to figure it out. But I gotta we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna get this. My plan would be to buy acreage, build a compound, have the kids come out, and everybody's got their own little place, and
Yeah.
you know. But they have their lives, and got to figure out what they want to do. And I mean, if it includes that, and they're on board, awesome. But you can't really, I can't really plan that for 'em. But
No, it's true. Well,
yeah,
have you thought about this? I mean, there was someone I was listening to who brought up it was a neat intersection between like, hey, look, one day you're gonna die. Also, you know, let's tidy up your world. So it was sort of a Marie Kondo kind of a Venn
yeah.
diagram between like that and the sort of, go ahead and clean up the stuff because like they're not gonna go through your stuff with the same whatever. Anyway, it's not they're going to throw out 99% of the stuff too, just like you would if you're
Oh
when you're
yeah.
right. So that kind of a thing. So it's like, why not just go ahead and save them the work and lighten your load and, you'll feel better mentally and everything else like this too. But, it's got me thinking about like, yeah. And if I close my eyes and I think of what it looks like, for me to not be working anymore, it literally is like, I don't know if it's Montana. I don't know if it's Wyoming. I don't know if it's somewhere in Wisconsin. Whatever.
Mhm.
There's a mountain ridge somewhere over there and our house is here and I need a four-wheeler to kind of get around and I've got a lab dog again, same thing. I've got a Starlink connection and hopefully we're like 30-40 minutes away to a Costco. Like that's
Yeah.
it. But but
That's everybody's list is like, I
right,
want to not have neighbors. I want to have hundreds
have
of
some
acres,
Costco. Yep.
nobody around, 30 minutes from Costco.
See, here's the thing. I don't need hundreds of acres. I need like just 2 acres, right?
Yeah.
And I want to be able to see the horizon. Like I know that I can't live in New York City. I've been there too many times where I'm just like, dude, I've got to see the horizon. I can't do this. I love seeing storms roll through,
Yeah.
But then I think of this and I'm like, how are my kids going to get there? Who's going to, who's going to change my diapers? Right. Like
Well,
as
who's
bad
gonna,
as it sounds.
if you're in one of those areas, who's gonna shovel the snow? Who's
Of
gonna,
course. Yeah.
all it's, we've had these conversations where initially I was like, I want 5 acres. I want to be 30 minutes outside of town, no neighbors. And then you think about it, it's like, okay, well, what does that actually look like? Okay, so yeah, I could get one of those snow blowers that push. I still got to get out there. I still
Yeah.
got to, 30 degrees, 20-degree weather, if
Yep.
not colder, do that. All right, now I get sick. Deidre gets sick. Okay, the hospital, 30 minutes. 30 minutes in the wintertime. Oh, I didn't snow blow. How does
Yeah.
that look?
Yeah.
Deidre's
Yeah.
never driven in snow. So it's a lot of, I think we're going to end up somewhere like a happy, like neighborhood-ish, where maybe it's an acre or a couple of acres, and then the next neighbors has a couple of acres, and where you can kind of see them over there. But I think if I was 35 and doing this,
Yeah.
10 acres, 20 acres,
Well, yeah,
different
because you could
story.
clear it, you could maintain it
Yeah,
yourself. You could have a couple beehives out there, and you would love to maintain
yeah.
that. Yeah,
I
you've
still
got.
want bees though.
I would love bees. Yeah, I think the same stuff, but then I'm like on the opposite end of it. It's like I don't want one of these. I don't know what they call them, but like they're just lock up, whatever. They're basically condos where you don't do anything. You just lock the door and you walk away, and like all the everything else is taken care of for you and everything else like this.
Huh.
I've seen the term, I just don't know what it's called, but that sounds too like freaking sterile. But I think
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like as long as I have a nice place. This sounds like I'm so old, but as long as I have a nice place to walk, I got a park where I can take my dog. I'm not far from an airport,
Uh-huh.
or I can still drive. Or
We
God
found a
willing, Elon is
really,
still making Teslas, and they still full self drive me
yeah,
wherever I want.
we found a nice place out, and it might still be available. I haven't checked.
Well, you wait.
Like
Let me hear
I've
this, but I want to tell you my spot next because I've got.
oh yeah, yeah.
I think I've figured it out. But go ahead. I want to hear your thing.
So it's 40 minutes outside of Boise. It's on the southeastern side. So Boise kind of runs like this. And then there's Highway 21. It's on the southeast side but runs northeast. So you take the tip and then you kind of follow 21 up through the mountains, and within I see the smile.
You said it.
So 10 minutes and you're in the mountains basically. Now, it, there's neighborhoods, but acreage neighborhoods. And then the further you go towards Idaho City, bigger lots and then fewer people. And Idaho City is this little, I don't even know how many people are there. It's a cool little town, but definitely locals. It's a drive-through city, real old. I think it's one of the oldest cities in Idaho. But so it's near there. It's 4 acres. House was built, I think it was 950. They dropped it from 980. What else? Really nice house. And the usable land is I'd say it's about 50-50 because it looks like there's a ravine on one side, like perfect for kids to go play and explore, but you can't really do much with it other than that. There's an RV pad. What else?
That's where I can go.
And it's great, but is that too far? Like there's not a coffee shop. I mean, I'm sure there's a coffee shop, but because we think, oh, it'd be cool to get up in the morning, go have bagels and coffee somewhere.
Sure.
Probably not going to get
Where?
that there.
Yeah. Where?
So and then Deidre's, or actually both of us, that speaking of retirement, one of the other things is exercise. So I've never been a gym guy. I hate it in the Marines. I hated it after, but about a year ago, I just thought I can't be 65 wishing I had started building, or not building muscle. I don't want to build. I just want to maintain muscle because
I just want to be
I
able to
read all the
get back up
stories.
when I fall down. That's
Yeah,
all.
muscle mass, people losing muscle mass or men losing
Yeah.
muscle mass. And I don't want to be 65 thinking so I started doing that. Okay. So if we move there, where's the gym? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
40 minutes up the road, that's, so then you think, okay, well, I'll get something at home.
What, a
So it's
kettlebell
a
and
lot of,
yeah.
a lot of considerations you have to, initially you're thinking this is the perfect spot.
Okay. Hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out.
Uh-huh.
Okay. What if, all right, there was a spot, you had your place to sleep and shower and you get ready. There's a gym nearby within walking distance. Okay. There's at least like 3 or 4 coffee shops.
I'm listening.
All right. At least that. You're going to get nice food, good food all the time.
Is this heaven?
Almost. And that food could be all you eat.
It's Iowa.
The food, no, this is Iowa. This food could be like on an all you can eat basis. Right. And you get to travel, right? You get to go to different spots around the world. The only catch, if you want to call it a catch, and I've seen people that are doing this now, it's like they're like, look, it's cheaper than living in retirement. They're just people are living on cruise ships now, like 50
Oh,
out of the
I've heard
52
that.
weeks. 50 out of
I
52 weeks.
I have heard that. I couldn't do
Like,
it, but
I don't know
I
if I
get
could.
it.
First of all, I've never been on a cruise except in the military, and it wasn't the same thing. There was no,
Yeah,
comedy show, and the food wasn't all that great, but the ports were great. But think of it that way. It's like, dude, your family could come visit you whenever they
yeah.
wanted. You just got to wait for you to port, So
Yeah,
that's
I'm not I understand the draw to it, but I don't like cruises to begin with. I just I feel I just had this conversation. I feel like cattle,
mm,
like get off the ship, get on the ship. Okay, everybody, and like everybody's marching towards the port to go to town, and
yeah.
all the people in port are like,
But we're
here
gonna be
comes all
60.
the cruise people.
Yeah, but we're gonna be like 68 years old at some point,
Yeah,
taking, like not we're not we might pull over to use the restroom. It's just we're not going
yeah.
anywhere except for in our Depends. You know what I mean? And like
My in-laws love
we need to
they
just be led.
love
Like
them.
go this way. Don't think. Go over here.
Yeah.
Gamble tonight. Watch a comedy show. Listen to someone sing. I don't know. I don't. It'd probably get old kind of quick. But it's
My idea is like Deidre, we all went to Greece a few years ago. I think it's about 4 years
remember.
now. And we went to Turkey. That was one of the first. So we went with my in-laws, and the first week was a cruise. And so we did the islands, and the first stop was in Turkey. So we get off first thing in the morning, and then we just we didn't plan any excursion. We just went to town. We
Yeah.
walked around. We had some coffee. Went to a bakery. That's what I like. I don't know. There's something about just that herd kind of mentality, not herd mentality, the herd aspect where you just kind of, okay, go do this now. I don't know. I'd rather just go sit in a coffee shop and kind of, people watch.
I would too, but let me ask you this. Do you have a vision of like and I don't know if this is what our retirement should be or not, but like what is your like ideal vacation? What's that look like?
Ideal vacation is
Like where
Deidre,
are you and what
the
are you doing?
car, Scotland. We'll just say Scotland because I haven't been there, and that's where my family's from. Well, I say family like my mom. No, like long ago family.
Well, that's where your land is.
Yeah, that's right. I got to pull up. I got to build a little driveway so I can, but go see that. But then just one of the best vacations we ever had is we went to Kauai, and there was a day. Actually, the whole trip the week we were there was like this. We had a couple of, went on a boat or one of the like a fishing trip, a zip line thing. Everything else was just like, all right, what do you want to do today? And then we get in the car and we'd go do it. And nothing was scripted or planned. It was just kind of, if we wanted to stop and, have a pizza, we'd stop and have a pizza. We didn't have to rush to get anywhere. That was the best vacation. Just having a great time all together, seeing stuff. That's it. That was the best thing about it. And no time, like no, I didn't have to check my watch. Like, oh well, we have reservations here. We got to check in over there.
Yeah.
It's like it was great. So that anywhere in that timeline would be my ideal.
That's good. That's
You?
interesting. Dude, in my head, I'm like, as long as it's temperate and shady, right? And I can spend my time just debating whether I want to continue to read this book or play some video games. Like, and literally like just be like, yeah, whatever. Like, and when I think about where I'm at, I'm just like, it doesn't matter if I'm looking out and I'm literally like in Moab or Hawaii or somewhere in the mountains in Colorado. Like, or on a beach, I don't have a preference there as long as it's just like with you, it's just like, dude, I can unplug. I mean, Branson is like that for me right now. We
Missouri?
don't ever, yeah, Missouri.
Yeah.
Don't ever buy a timeshare. But if you're ever going to buy a timeshare, pay it off, but don't ever buy a timeshare ever. It's a dumb thing. But
My in-laws are trying to get us to take over theirs, and I just do not. I don't want it because every time I've tried to, because they let us use it. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack it, but it's like,
no, go ahead.
It's such a hassle to get someplace booked. And, it's like, well, I could just book an Airbnb and be done with it,
Yeah, we fortunately, we don't have a problem getting anything booked.
Oh, okay. That's
but
good.
but we also do this because I mean our kids are homeschooled, so like we go to Branson usually after school starts back up, and there's nobody around, right? So we
Mhm.
never have a problem anyway, and we go just sort of in sort of off times, which is really good because when I think about like work, even it's like I'm taking off this time, and then I come back, and then everybody else takes off that other time that's sort of traditional, and it's like, well, we're not competing with the same space as them. Plus, it's like when everybody else is gone from work, it lets me do more with work or, less. You know what I mean? Either way, it's
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
good. But like, yeah, either way, it's just like, dude, it's like after about into like day 3, finally, it's like my phone is no longer interesting to me. I'm more just like, I want to get up. I want to head outside for a while first, hang out a little bit. Maybe it's on a kayak. Maybe it's just hiking. No, nothing too crazy, but up before pretty much anybody else is up. And then, be able to chill out, grab, some iced coffee, just on a balcony or, some like again, someplace where it's just like it's comfortable, it's shaded, and I can just sit and think like, all right, well, we're gonna play Scrabble here later on tonight. But like
That sounds like retirement planning.
no, that does sound like retirement planning. I'm just like, how do I fund that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be fun. But then, man, I don't know
Yeah,
about
those
you, but
iced
it's like
coffees are getting expensive.
well, yeah, they are. I'm trying to learn how to make my own just cold brewed. I know it's easy. I just haven't
Get
looked
that
into it.
Ninja. Get that Ninja one. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
The Ninja Luxe coffee maker. It does
Huh.
everything.
Huh. Affiliate link in description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel
You
free to send one.
yeah, use Cooper as use Cooper when you check out. No, dude, I'll check that out. We've got the Ninja ice cream maker, by the way, game changer. Really good for,
So we have a the Ninja coffee maker. It's like a regular coffee maker, and it's better than some super expensive coffee makers we've had in the past.
well, I'm gonna look
But
this up right now.
yeah,
There's the dogs. It's the Ninja what?
I think it's Luxe. You can make cappuccinos,
Lux 3-in-1
lattes.
espresso. Let's see if gosh, let's see. I've got it in the wrong.
I mean, it's not cheap, but
Yeah.
depends on how much coffee you drink. Like
I mean,
you go buy
500 bucks.
coffee.
I mean, 500 bucks. Let me see. It's 100 cups divided by 2. That's 50 cups. That's 5 a week. That's 10 weeks. This is a pretty easy decision right here. So,
Hmm.
pretty easy decision. Ah, good Lord. No, that does sound like retirement, but I think there's a lot of people, and I think there's people that are debating this now, especially with like AI, and it's going to take over all of our jobs. And it's like, then the question is like, how do people find, their purpose and stuff like this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'd still want to do some stuff, but like, I'm going to be one of those, my whole family serves at our church, and I'm, going back to helping out with photography again here as well. And I'm just like, dude, if my I like helping people. I like helping friends. I like, my brother will say that it's sort of a fault. He's like, you don't owe anybody anything. Like you help so many people or you give them whatever that like they owe you. And I'm like, well, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
But I think if I could not have to worry about just like the basic stuff, and dude, I'd still probably want to work at Starbucks at 5 in the morning because it's fun. The energy is good and I'm awake
No,
anyway.
because then you'd have to, your boss would be, some young kid. And I mean, nothing wrong with young kids, but you know
Yeah,
what I'm
maybe,
saying.
but I mean, maybe I wouldn't give a damn. Maybe I just be
Yeah,
like,
that's
yo,
true.
dude, like it's fine, man. I'm
You-
just here to like, you want me to
What was
whatever,
the
I'll do
movie
whatever.
American Beauty with Kevin Spacey, where he's working
Right.
at McDonald or whatever the burger joint was, and he was just like, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
not that it was lesser work. He was just like, I want to do this. I want to be out
I just
there,
want to punch.
and
Yeah, I just want to punch the clock. I want to be somewhere where I'm around people
yeah.
or whatever. But like, I'd still do something. Or heck, maybe I would be at Starbucks until I didn't, until I wanted to punch a young punk in the mouth or
See,
something.
Deidre joked that I have ADHD when I told her about this podcast with you again, because she's like, look, you got woodworking, you got
Yeah.
the reselling, you've got, I mean, there's a million things. Like I will not have any problem filling my time with,
Right.
doing stuff. So I welcome that.
Yeah.
One of the things that people talk about in a lot of the shows I watch is, are you going to lose your identity? Is your identity tied to your job? And I can 100% confirm it is
Mine
not.
isn't.
Like
Yeah,
I
mine
will
is not
not
either.
have an issue. Like, what do I do now with my time or like my identity? My job. Like, nope. I got, like, if you could see all these boxes I bought a collection from my buddy he was probably trying to Marie Kondo his house, and now it's in my house, and trying to sort through it and see what's all in there to to get it sold, and it's a lot. It is a lot, but I love it. I could do this. This is probably what, reselling is probably what I'm gonna do most of the time, when I go into retirement.
I think that's
Mm,
awesome. I think that's awesome. I don't yeah, it's wild. I mean, we share the photography background, we share
yeah.
an enjoyment for woodworking. I just know that I can't do good woodworking. Okay, I probably could end the sentence there. But with the space that I have, like our previous house, I had a 3-car garage, like that was easy. Right now, I'm like, it's not, a 2-car garage. First world problems. I know.
I'm gonna show you a guy who has a small one single car garage,
I know.
and
I know. I've
he
seen it.
makes a
I don't
ton.
want it enough. It's the
Yeah,
same
I
reason why
agree. That
it's the
I'm
same
the
reason
same
I'm
way.
not in jujitsu. It's that I don't
Yeah,
want it enough, right?
yeah,
Otherwise I'd be in jujitsu right now, right? So,
yeah,
it's those things. So, but yeah, there's going to be plenty. That's for dang sure. It's for
yeah.
dang sure. Well, dude, how do you think we should wrap this one up?
Bye.
See ya.
No, I mean, I think it's a good, well, hope it's good, enough an interesting conversation. And I mean, that's essentially what I envision this being, is just, not some kind of talk show, not anything like that. It's just we sit down and talk about whatever the topic is, and a million other topics, because I'm gonna, butterfly, and we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about that.
What if and not to overly structure it or whatever, but there's a few cool I'm sorry, I'm thinking about legacy right now, and I'm now moving my camera around. I'm thinking about legacy now, and I'm wondering if it wouldn't be cool for us to just be like, all right, if no one else watches this, this is, your time, John, to talk about why you chose to go to the Marine Corps and what other things you might have
Right.
chosen. And what advice would you give Aiden, for example, if he were to ask, like, should I join the military? Or, what about your grandkids? Like, should I join the military?
So like a video diary for
And
posterity's sake.
yeah, maybe in a sense, but I do think, like, just being able to, like, dude, we were sitting in church Sunday and I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to grab, because this is so cool. I mean, I was involved in church a lot when I was with my mom, and then not so much with my dad. And then absolutely I couldn't justify I'm in the Marine Corps and I'm supposed to be like going to church, like I'm believing God and like I'm being trained to murder.
Everybody was going to church at boot camp. Everybody couldn't wait to go
Yeah,
to
you didn't have a
everybody was
choice, right?
religious.
But I'm like this, like I'm this dude that like wasn't super faithful, and then I'm looking at my kids, like my son. I got a picture of him in church. He's got a journal out, and he's sitting down taking notes, and he's like looking up. And my daughter's doing the same thing. She's like, "What was point two?" I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." And she's like, and I'm like, they care. So I'm sitting here like, you know what I
Mhm.
want to do? I'm gonna grab a journal for each one of the kids, and I'm gonna give them each a couple of them, but I want to put in there, there are a few verses that I love and I will never forget, and that I want to tell them what it means to me, and I want to write it down. And I want to give it to them, because I think one day they're going to be like, man, this is my dad's handwriting. This
Uh-huh.
is his thoughts that he's putting down on paper for me. And, I don't know how I could do something in video format without a little bit of prompting. I don't think,
Sure.
about like, all right, tell me about this. Tell me about the time that. Tell me. I mean, there are products out there right now where it's like, okay, record your answer in this, and then it puts it in like kind of a book with a couple of pictures and then a QR code where you can hear
Oh,
the
my
voice
kids
of
got
the
me one
person.
of those.
Okay.
It was basically, I don't remember the company, but it was, you'd get email questions to you. Like, I
Oh
think it was
yeah,
a
that's
week
right.
long. So it was over a year, and every week you'd get a question, and then you'd answer the question. And at the end of the year, they'd compile it and then make a book. And so we have the book. It's funny because you get through it and you're thinking, oh, I could have put so much more into this. It's like I read the question. I was like, oh, here's the answer. But
Yeah.
it's like you could have really elaborated on and made it like a book, you
Well, I
know?
wonder well, there's definitely a way to probably sit and prompt, Claude or Chat GPT, say, "Hey, here's what I'm trying to
Is
do.
this one of
I
our
want."
butterfly moments, by the way?
It could be. Well, I've marked it like as the end, but this is just us yapping at the end.
Got it.
And then but basically be like, "Look, I'll talk to the camera, I'll answer these questions," or I'll have, like, a teleprompter up that'll just, be like, "Here's the question I'm trying to answer, or the story I'm trying to tell, and let me try to keep kinda get back on point." But then, have the AI also just sort of put it all together and say, "Look, I'm getting, I'm like with this here to, like, make it not concise, but just not have dead moments where you're sitting in there."
Yeah.
But, who knows if our kids are ever gonna use this medium, in the future too, who knows? But
Yeah.
I mean, it would be I'm always gonna give them advice, but I'm wondering just how much of this other advice is like, like, look, if you're anywhere from age 17 to 28 right now, like, and your dad didn't talk to you about some of this stuff, like, thanks for listening to us, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, have you seen that guy? He's an older guy, and obviously his kids are grown, but now he creates videos of like, here's how you tie a tie.
Yeah,
Here's how you
here's how
change a
you
tire,
unclog
and
the
it
toilet. Yeah,
yeah,
here's
and
how you
it's
change
for
the tire.
those kids who didn't have that. And I thought that's genius. That is
It
a
is.
genius idea, and I hope he makes a shit ton of money.
Yeah, it is, and I wonder, so I mean, it's all about it's YouTube University, right? We go to
Mhm.
YouTube to try to learn how to do something too, so not to be formulaic about it because I love our conversations, but maybe we do that one thing where, it's like there's that tidbit in it or whatever, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I like this. I wanna keep doing this as it is, and,
Yep.
maybe we'll stumble into something.
I
I
mean,
do
I do like like that you'd sent that thing over the topics, like at least so it narrows us even a little bit.
I didn't
I think
even
that's
do that.
great.
I didn't even do that. Like, that was
Oh,
literally me
really?
using that was Claude Design, for me
Okay.
to just say, "This is what I want it to look like," and then I said, "Just put filler crap in there as if there's content already,"
Okay.
and that's what it did. So I was like, those aren't bad, like, things, you know what I
Well,
mean? Those aren't bad.
so as a division, I was thinking about this like a division of labor because you're obviously the tech, like you get it, you have all the stuff, like that's your like so and obviously you'll have input in as well, but I can use ChatGPT as good as the next guy and start putting together, you know, like maybe just basic outlines or
Yeah.
fleshing out our social media descriptions and
Dude,
backstories
I'm down
and all
I'm
that
down
stuff.
I'm down for any of it. Like, there's so many great ways to use those things to just be like, "Look,
Mhm.
here's," like, there's actually all right, this is gonna get meta for a minute because I told you I've been into
Yeah.
AI for quite a while. There's a skill that can be used. We actually have built it for our potential clients, me and JB's, where
Mhm.
it's a pretty exhaustive interview to try to pull out your tacit knowledge, right? The things that it's like if you were to be like, let's just say your job was to make toast, right?
Mhm.
Have you seen the dad who did his kids says, "Hey, you tell me what to do. I'm going to make peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Describe to me how to make peanut butter and jelly." And like he just follows the instructions, like, get peanut butter, put it on bread. He just puts the jar on bread. They're like, no, it's
Mhm.
like that's taking tacit knowledge, which is I just make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I take peanut butter,
Mhm.
put it on bread, and then jelly, put it on bread, put the two pieces of bread together. Like, you're like, what all that means, but breaking it down and being explicit is what is interesting. My point is that there's an interview process where you could basically tell Claude or Chat GPT, like, all of the responses to these questions that you're prompting me with are to be built in who I am. Now, knowing who I am, here's examples of what content I want to make.
You're gonna love my answer.
Yeah, I want 100 different, I want 100 topics that I can make 100 different videos on,
Yeah.
you know?
I've
Yeah.
so I've s ChatGPT is the one that's what I've used most